Hello, welcome to Pearl Treasure Designs with Fake Sweets Collaboration, hosted by Happiness Created, co-hosts Kiki DIYs and the Rusted Willow. So please join me for today's video, and there'll be 4 DIYs, and we'll get to introduce our hosts and co-hosts later on. The first DIY is a Mocha Sundae. I decided to take one of the containers from the dollar store and make a mini Mocha Sundae. I did use a mini scoop from my kitchen and light spackle that I had colored with mocha paint. And you'll get to see that in just a second. These came out really realistic looking. And I did make a happy mistake, as you'll see in a minute, with the crumbled, what I'm calling waffle topping, but it was actually supposed to be a pie crust. It didn't come out so well, so I utilized the happy mistake as waffle topping. So you get to see that in just a second. Moving forward here. I didn't really think what I was going to be able to do with it, but as I sat there thinking about it, I couldn't let it go to waste. So I'm going to take a piece of this and wedge it in between a couple of the scoops. And I'm not quite done with that, so we're going to put another piece in and just let it get in there and let it dry, and that will be all the adhesive that we need for this little part. I did use the gel stain as walnut or maple gel stain as the fudge topping to this. And of course, a sundae is not complete without your cream topping. So let's see what that looks like. So the fudge topping, I do like how this came out. It looks like a milk chocolate instead of a dark chocolate. And you'll see me dip my finger in some water to try and loosen up a little bit of the stain. And I took my mixing straw just to move it around in the bottom of the dish, because that's what sundaes typically do. When you delve into it, it's always at the bottom. Now I ended up making a cherry out of clay and had it dry overnight, and here I am just putting the Red Touch paint on it. So it is cherry cobbler color. And here are our hosts, Fake Sweets Collaboration with the Happiness Created, Kiki's DIY and the Rusted Willow, and more of our lovely ladies and gents with their amazing videos. So please check them out. Submit and like and share their videos as well. Help them grow their channel too. Everybody could use a hand up, and what a great way to do so by supporting each other. And now we're going to go into DIY number 2, a root beer float. I had these very unique small mugs hanging around the house, and I had made some pleasant mistakes, which you'll find in my blooper section of this reel. And you'll see that the small cup I'm using a filler with a styrofoam egg. It fit perfectly into the mug, and I did, in a second you'll see, I did stabilize that with some spackle from the top, and I did put a little bit on the bottom. So this is just to help fill that cup, so that we can then put the colored spackle and the topping on that. The lovely use of getting as much out of it as I can possibly get. Now I did use piping bags for this next part. Uh, it worked out okay with the once I warmed the spackle up in my hand, but it was really kind of difficult with the dollar store piping bags with the spackle. The openings just were not quite large enough. So next time I would use my my metal tips for this particular spackle brand. But I have had it work in the past with the metal tips. I just easy. Now this, I had a hole puncture in the bag and it worked out really well, so it made it look like foam topping you might get in a can. So I went with it. Happy mistake. This is the mocha or the hazelnut spackle that I had used with the Waverly hazelnut paint and mixed it well. And this tip in particular did manage to work out pretty well. So first I'm putting on the mass of it, and then using a hard bristle brush to tap it down to make it look like root beer foam. DIY number 3, a sweet cupcake. And I used part of a jumbo silicone cupcake mold that I had hanging around. And so I did hot glue this so that it would hold together for a second. So we want to make sure that it was going to form a circle, because some of these things want to fall apart real quick. So that held pretty well, and I ended up cutting an egg in half to make it more of a realistic size cupcake. I mean, I could have used the whole thing to make it an outrageous size, which would have been fun, but you know, my cupcakes at home usually don't come out at jumbo size. So just adhering it to the silicone cupcake holder. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some tube spackle in there to use as a filler. Rolling that around, filling out in that gap, and then I'm going around for a general layer for the cupcake. And then I did use one of those plastic tips. I was trying to get it to work, but it just made a mess and filled it up. So DIY number 4, we're going to layer a yellow cake. I did pre-cut these sponges because they were, you know, quite difficult to get a circle. I'm more used to working with paper products, so I had to take more time doing this, and I'm just finishing up these edges here that I had sized to this cup or this glass. I did find this glass at the dollar store for $3 in a pack, so that was that worked out well. And you can also use the plastic variety as well. Now, the smallest sponge for the cake layer, and then the Quit Seal spackle or adhesive, I added into that layer for the icing. And basically that's all I did for this one to get it to the top before adding the topping. And then we're going to add another layer of that spackle adhesive. I like the spackle adhesive because it's smoother in texture for something like this. I wanted to make sure I got all the air pockets out that you could see next to the glass. And that's looking pretty good for the lemon or the yellow cake. And then I took the edging that I had cut off that yellow mold, and I made basically some lemon shards or lemon cuttings to put on top of the dessert with lemon sprigs. And then I did make a little bow type of decoration for the top of this using the same yellow mold. And you'll get to see another accessory in just a minute here. So this was really quite interesting to work with. It worked out really well. The thinner it is, the more pliable it is, because this was a jumbo mold and they are quite thick. There we go. And the next thing, I just wanted to show you that it was made out of a mold right there. And then I used red beads for jimmies. And my phone, my video recording didn't tape this first part. So what I'm doing here is I'm finishing up the touches on a lemon slice that I made from that yellow mold. And I used hot glue to hold it together and fill it. And then I used a marker, a Sharpie marker, to put in the seeds. And then you'll see that at the final reveal. Thanks for watching Pearl Treasure Designs bloopers. Now for spiritual support, go to Pastor Beth Kelly at Beth Kelly Podcast on YouTube. Now don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. We're all in this together.